And Damon, we got Damon Gonzalez coming up. Latinbox Communications. The Calder Cup. Well, let's look that up real quick. Yeah. Because how could we not know this? Being in Lightning territory.
Yeah.
I'm going to find out who won it. List of champions. Here we go. Should be on here. So anyway, Calder Cup, list of champions. The Syracuse Stars won in 1936-37 against the Philadelphia Ramblers. That was the first one. And the last one...
Actually, there was one before that.
Oh, it's not listed. It's not updated. I don't know.
Okay, well, hey, we can look at that while you get on with Damien here.
Yeah, Damon Gonzalez, Latinbox Communications. How you doing, brother?
Hey, brother, how you doing?
You know me. I'm always good. How about yourself? Yeah, hey, listen, loved the article last night. Go to rocketsports-ent.com. In the photographs by Robert Richards.
Whoa!
You got Eddie. You're gonna.
I know. I saw him.
You saw him. Okay. Eddie's a star photographer, and he was raving about him. Love the photos, and you see, I did a little special tribute to Justin Jones. Did you notice that? I did it. And did you get the emails? Hey, don't ask me. You know, he goes, could you text me the links? I don't know how to text links. I'm not that advanced. I can email links. I got that down pat. So I go, I'll email them to you.
And you ought to see him do a radio board.
Oh, man. So anyway, really excited. Kerr's Winghouse Friday Fight Night. You were there on the first at A La Carte Pavilion. Your article breaks it down, but what were some of the highlights from that night?
You know, I'll tell you what, man. Fight night, Winghouse always seems to pull through with such a great lineup. We had an amazing rematch with Ink Lyle versus Manny Woods. And, boy, let me tell you, call it what you want, but those two, they really had a grudge, man. They really had a grudge. They let it all hang in the ring. It was very electric. There was a lot of firing at each other. Great combinations. Seemingly, you know, Lyle controlled the pace. He was the more calmer fighter. It seemed every round that Woods just wanted to get closer and closer, and he just seemed more focused on trying to find that home run, trying to find that knockout punch. Now, he had his chances. He had two opportunities where he staggered Lyle in the fight, and it kind of gave a little, you know, Lyle shook it off pretty much and really held his ground and boxed beautifully. I mean, he boxed beautifully. He kept the distance, and he just let his hands go. And it was just such a great rematch. And, you know, it was a tough, to me, it was really a tough fight to score. Of all the fights that night, that was the main event was the toughest fight to score. It could have went either way in my book. But, you know, the commission and the judges gave it to Lyle, and, you know, rightfully so. He won the middleweight Florida championship title. So that was very, very awesome fight. Manny's going to keep on being Manny. He's going to come back and redeem himself. And, you know, who knows? We'll probably have a number 3 fight, you know. The other guys on the card, you know, like you were saying, Justin Jones, he's just this young, talented, raw kid.
5-0, Justin Jones.
Interesting enough, 5-0. The kid he fought had such an unorthodox style. I mean, just the way he put his feet and set himself, he was throwing shots at angles that were very, to me, awkward. They weren't coming precise. They weren't coming crisp. His style was very different. And Justin, really, you can see throughout the fight, you could sense the young fighter getting a little frustrated because I guess his plan, what he wanted to show and do, it didn't come into force. However, he did pressure the kid. He did get inside. Took a heck of a home run headbutt from him. I'll tell you, blood is sitting up right in the center of the head. I mean,
well, that's what I was going to bring up.
Cracked him really good, you know, and it turned out to be a bloodbath, you know. But Jones held his ground, and you know, again, he was able to stay. You know, these young fighters, cool, man. I like seeing Jones fight. He stepped on the gas, and he just started pressuring and pressuring and pressuring, and Rohan just wasn't fighting back. He wasn't fighting, and the referee jumped in and stopped the bout. Rightfully so, So it was a good bout for him.
Well, you said unorthodox style.
Wait a minute, hold it, time out.
And he's got something to say.
Time out. No, wait a minute. He put everything behind a headbutt?
Look.
Oh,
man. I'll tell you what was exciting about that is you can really see when Jones came back out after that headbutt, you can see Justin the kid was just really pissed off. But it was more of pissed off and focused because he really started to lay it on him and really started to attack him. And he was up on the scores. He was landing the more precise punches, the more power punches, and it just stepped up his game. And it's good,
Yeah, somebody leads with a headbutt. I thought that adds to leading with your chin.
Right.
China chin. Man.
Hand hit him
Sure.
with the hand.
And again, the guy just had this weird style. And the way he was coming in, of course, he was looking for the clinches all the time. He had this little John Ruiz with him that he just kept on trying to grab him and kept on trying to grab him and kept on trying to put weight on him. And you can see that the fight was going on, and Dustin was like, "Man, just get off me! Let me hit you!" So it made it to he worked through the storm, but wind up winning the fight.
Yeah, but I got to ask you something here. I got to ask one thing. Yeah, how would you rate this fight? Above or below a schoolyard bash? What would you call it?
Well, again, granted, these are young fighters,
right,
and they're still developing in boxing, whereas, they're starting to find their way. They're starting to learn how to behave like a prize fighter, and it's interesting to watch them go through the fights and watch them develop like that because, I'll tell you, Fight Night has did an amazing job. Aaron Jacobs and Shea Bailey has done such a tremendous job with matchmaking these kids, with putting them with high-level competition opponents. And kids come out of nowhere, and they come there, and, Sheldon Moore had a good outing. Jeff Lacey's brother, Kenneth Lacey, he took Chris Barnett, MMA fighter. Not really a boxer, but MMA/fighter. They throw this big monster dude in there against him. And I'll tell you what, man, Lacey's just a good young heavyweight fighter. You can see that he belongs there. This is what he's demonstrating early in his career. He's saying, hey, I belong here. And that's what he's showing because this guy, man, was throwing kitchen sinks at him every single round. And Lacey took it well. Lacey just took it well. And it's interesting because when you look at him, it's like, gosh, you're like looking at his brother, but the hook is coming from the right hand. And, man, what a right-hand hook that Lacey got, man. I mean, he landed on Barnett so many times, dropped Barnett, to the ropes a few times with his right hook. He's just a well-grounded, strong kid. And, look to see better things up ahead with Lacey.
You know what's interesting about that? The photo that Robert sent that we published, he's hitting him with a left jab, which that's how dangerous. His name is Kenneth Right Hook Lacey, and we got a photo of him. That left jab looks pretty dangerous there. So man, hey, can we get Justin back on the show, Justin Jones?
Sure, absolutely. I'll definitely contact him, and we'll get him on the show. And, he's a great kid. He's a good kid. We have fights that night that were wonderful fights. My hat's tipped to all the fighters. And look for great stuff. I believe the next show lineup for Fight Night would be September 14th, if I'm correct. But stay tuned. There's other stuff coming up. We have Phil Alessi shows up at the end of the month. There's some great fighters, Silky Wilkie, our boy Silky, he's going to be throwing down in that one. We're going to have the return of Naomi Vasquez. You remember Naomi?
Beautiful, yes, she's been on the show.
Road debut tremendously in the first Alessi fight. She came out with authority, and it was great. It was great to see. Other than that, it's just keep on plugging it in. My hat's also tipped to Winky Wright. Winky Wright.
I was going to bring that up.
With his long career, he decided to fight Kid Chocolate this weekend. And I'll tell you what, Winky Wright going there. He's a named trademark fighter. However, would I have done it that way? Sure, I would have took maybe a tune-up or two before I fought the number one guy. But you can't tell a guy that has not backed down to fight his whole career to take a nobody. You just can't do that. And
Right.
that's Winky Wright's heart. Winky Wright wants to take on the best. He's always been like that. He never changed that. He was like that when he fought in Europe. He was like that when he fought here. And that's just not going to change. So, Hall of Fame guy, great man, wonderful family, and I wish him all the well and best. And I really assure and I hope that Winky shows his face in these fights Tampa and gives his support. And hopefully
Yes.
soon we'll get him on the show as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're speaking with Damon Gonzalez, Latinbox Communications, Rocket Sports and Entertainment correspondent. Also, real quick, we're running short on time. Sugar Shane Mosley's going to hang it up. So he's another one.
He's going to hang up, and I need to throw this in because it's so important. Antonio Tarver.
Yes.
Fought to a draw. Let me tell you, Antonio Tarver went in there with Coyote, and he threw bombs at Coyote. He showed Coyote, the younger fighter, that, hey, we can do this. And let me tell you, there was also a fight that was very close. I actually had Antonio win in that fight. Antonio is the veteran fighter, once again, stepped to the plate and proved not only to himself, but proved to the world that he's far from done. Okay, he's far from done, and he did a wonderful job against Coyote.
Yeah,
it was also a great fight. And let's not forget, I'm bringing a guy on the show soon. It's Juan Reynoso. Mr. Juan Reynoso fights out of Brandon, Tampa, Florida. He made his pro debut on the undercard of Antonio Tarver in California. Juan for his pro debut, and he's from the Brandon, Tampa area, and he's a great, well-grounded kid, man. He's a warrior, veteran, young fighter, great